Yeah.
What's up?
What
My
up,
favorite Sequester
Spencer?
podcasters.
Welcome back, everybody. We are back with a special edition of Real Talk
with real siblings and Spencer.
What's up, real siblings? What's up, real sibling audience? How's everybody doing?
It's good to have you, man.
Not just Spencer, but the second place contestant in season 4 of Sequester. You guys give it up, Spencer. That was amazing. That was an amazing finale.
It was awesome. I really loved watching it. You know, even going into it and knowing exactly what was happening, every single episode this season, like my heart pounds the entire time. I was just like, from episode 1 to episode 9, the finale, the entire time, my heart's racing, my palms are sweating. I'm just like so excited. And I think that goes to show like how great of a job Audrey and the rest of production has done with this, because if they can get me, who was there for the whole time, like still nervous about what's going to happen, then you know that they're doing something right.
Damn true. How did you feel about the season, about that finale specifically episode, right? Watching what you went through, but also seeing what everybody went through was an emotional episode. Seeing ultimately take it.
It was, it was good I felt like it was a good end cap to the season. I felt like it was a very fitting end to a really emotional season, a very exciting season, and like just one big adventure for everybody. And I think like the way that it ended was, that was like the fairy tale ending, is Billy winning, and like I can say, like, as much as I wanted to win, and I wanted to win so badly, like my excitement for Billy was through the roof. Like I was so happy that she won. I was so happy that she did everything that she could to earn that win. And like I wasn't lying to her when I said, hey, look, if there's anybody I could lose to, it would be you, right? I still thought I had a fighting chance against her, and turns out I had even more of a fighting chance than I thought. But sitting next to anybody at the end, I'm glad it was her.
That's beautiful, because you did seem sincere when you said that, like when you said you would sit next to her. Were you surprised by the amount of votes you got? I was a little surprised, to be honest.
I was too.
Yeah, as that final 2 jury questioning went on, it started off a little rocky. Jay West and Katie, they were a little bit more open to hearing what I had to say, and then there was a stretch of like 5 jurors in a row who, whether it was positive things about me or negative things about me, didn't really give me a chance to speak. We went from, it didn't really give me a chance to say anything positive about myself, right? Like Rachel, kind of said, like, what was your biggest regret? And, I'm not going to get any votes off of saying what my biggest regret is. It's a good moment for me to make amends with Rachel. And it meant a lot to me that she accepted my apology, because I did feel, it was a genuine apology. And, I did feel remorse for what had happened. And, especially watching it back now, I'm like, man, what a blunder that was. Like, I really didn't mean it that way, but I can tell like how terribly it came off. Shireen, how many times did you get voted off? Like that was, I was just like, oh boy, like, a Survivor player, the game is all about not getting voted off. I was like, man, I'm not getting her vote. Like, I didn't expect to get her vote, but I was like, she's not going to give me anything. But, and then Brent, I was a little bit surprised. I thought that, what he said about me was great, but, I wish that, I don't think Brent was compelling to the jury. I think he was saying what he wanted to say. I think like he was sticking up for me a little bit, but I wanted to let my game and my words stick up for myself. So I have nothing bad to say about that, but I was kind of just like chomping at the bit. And if you go back and watch, you can kind of see my face drop a little bit when he's like, I don't have a question for you. I was like, again.
You're like, but I want a question.
I was like, please give me something. So, and then, Brendan with the sandbag question of, whose votes are you going to get?
What was, so I've seen some people on Twitter say it was like the best question reality TV show history or whatever. And I was just like, at the time, I had no idea what he was just trying to make you feel bad. Is that what, like, what was that?
I wish I could tell you. I think it was more a matter of like, hey, reflect upon this. But I think it's not the time to reflect upon
Yeah.
things like that.
It's also hard to reflect on like who you think is voting for you. It's one thing
Yeah.
to know who voted for you and then reflect on like, shoot, like I didn't get this person's vote. Like, let me think about why and like what I did for that person. It's another thing to
Mhm.
just be like, I mean, I would imagine sitting in that seat, it's really hard to confidently raise your hand and be like, I know for a fact I have this person's vote.
Yeah.
And obviously Billy was able to do that because she had some personal relationships that were really deep with people, you
Oh
know?
yeah, yeah. And I didn't feel like I had those kind of personal relationships. Like I didn't feel like during this game there were votes that I had on lock, you know. And not to say like I felt like going into Final Tribal, there were or Final Tribal, Final Two, there were votes. I don't know what to call it, right? Final Two,
Final
jury
two.
questioning, whatever. Yeah, going into Final Two, I was like, every single vote that I get, I'm gonna have to like earn right now. Earn right now. Billy had already earned votes. Not to say like she had votes locked for her, but that wasn't for anything like it was made, whether it was things that I did to burn people that they were just never going to vote for me, or people were like, oh my gosh, I love Billy so much because of the way that she played this game, that there's no way I'm not going to vote for Billy. So I knew that every single thing that I was going to have to do was going to be during that Final Two. Like every single vote was going to have to come from that. And you know, when Brendan asked that question, it came on like this tail end of like Billy getting these questions where she gets to explain herself and she gets to be super passionate and emotional and vulnerable to the jury. And you know, they're asking like, what was the strategic moves that you made and how were you social? And you know, she's getting to open up and explain herself. And like that's what I wanted. So when it's like it really took the wind out of my sails a little bit when Brendan like does that. I'm just like, I mean, I don't know who's gonna vote for me. Nobody's giving me any like, sure, maybe Brent, like whatever, maybe Brent, maybe Katie, maybe Jay West, but like there was never a point where I was like, yeah, I got all these votes, like these are all unlocked. um but yeah, I felt like, you know, once we got to Muna, Jacob, Josh, Natalie, like that's when I kind of was able to pick myself back up and talk with a little bit more composure and a little bit more confidence in my game. But you know, watching that back, it was like I was proud of myself. I was really proud of myself. I was like, man, you know, what a growth from like episode 3.
Yeah.
You know, I felt like that was the worst that I was the whole season, was in episode 3, where I was just like running around, yelling, screaming at people, saying, you don't want to take me into a battle match. And like watching that back, I'm like, oh my God, like that was so cringy. Like I hated watching that on TV.
Let's
But
get into
watching
that a
it,
little bit actually.
okay, yeah.
Into because even I mean episode 3, you know, we certainly see a big difference, you know, episode 3 Spencer to, you know,
Mhm.
season finale Spencer, but even episode
Yeah.
1, you know, even I rewatched, you know, the episode 1 so you kind of, you know, get a sense of how everybody was coming in, and you were a very different Spencer even then. So talk to us about what was your strategy coming in? Like before you even met everyone, like what did you think you would face? What did you think your biggest hurdle would be? Because you've played Sequester, at least Sequester
Yeah.
Mini before, so you kind of
Yeah.
had a sense. But what was your strategy coming in?
So my strategy was like, I'm gonna be people's friends. I'm gonna make nice with people. I know it sounds so silly coming out of my mouth right
Well,
now after
now it
seeing
makes
what
sense at the
happens.
time. Yeah.
But I was like, I'm gonna be people's friends. I'm going to like try to avoid getting into battle matches. But like, if I do get into battle matches, I'm gonna win the battle matches. Like I said that with Taryn, and he was like, "What's your strategy for that?" And I was like, "I don't know, win." But like I was confident. I was really, really confident going into the house. And then when I saw, like, you could tell from the jump where the power structure was going to lie. And I knew I was like not in a good spot in the house. I knew there were some people who, you know, weren't going to be gunning for me, but I could tell like that there were pockets of like alliances that were never turning on each other, and they were never going to go after each other. And I was like, okay, cool. Here are the people who I have the closest pregame connections with. Well, I guess like going in, I was, yeah, that was my strategy going in. But like when I saw everybody who was there, I was like, okay, Katie's great. Like I played my first ever mini with Katie. We have like regularly talked to each other. Like we play, like we would in like groups, we would play these like games online, like Werewolf or Code Names, like all these games. And I was like, great, this is awesome. And then she gives safety to Brendan. And I was like, where did this come from? Like, it didn't click to me. Like, I had no idea that Katie and Brendan's brother were like best friends in real life. Like, they're super close with each other. And I didn't know that. So I was like, okay, Katie's got like other people. And Brent is somebody who I'm also very close with, like outside of the game. And like, I knew he was never going to be gunning for me, but what a terrible ally. What a terrible person who is like, I'm like,
Brent
yeah,
would
Brent's,
probably say the same thing about you, to be fair.
no, absolutely, absolutely. But like, I always had like, I had Brent's back. I had Brent's back. I had Katie's back. I didn't feel like there was anybody who was going to have my back over anybody else. Katie, like, she basically got herself out of this game because she didn't want to betray me. But it wasn't because she was so loyal to me. It was because she was like, Spencer's going to pick me for this battle match if I vote for him. Like, she knew that.
Because you told her.
Because I told her, yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
if you screw me up, you're going in. Yeah. So yeah, like so round one, like nobody picked me for safety. Jay West told me, he was like, I'm gonna pick you for safety. I was like, great, I'm gonna be the first one safe. This is awesome. Picked Shireen. And I was like, okay, like that was my shot. Then Katie picks Brendan, and you know, Brent gives it to Muna. I was like, oh my God, all these people who I think I'm okay with are just like, they're not even looking my way. So I knew that something was going on. Then round two comes around and I get, you know, out within the first 10 minutes. And I'm like, oh my God, this is just like these minis all over again. Like, you know, I'm going to be up for nomination. I'm going to be an early target. Like, I have to change something up. And it really started when Brent and Brendan came up to me, like, Rachel's the one who's pushing your name around. Mm-hmm. Rachel's the one who's really like driving your name around. And I kind of knew that there was a little bit of tension. Like, I had nothing against Rachel, but Rachel like had something against me from the moment the game started.
Yeah.
Like this was a like kind of like an off-camera moment, but you know, when Jacob and Marcelo, I'm sorry, not Jacob and Marcelo, when Marcelo and Josh were having that conversation about like, oh, sorry, man, the house wants to put you up, so I'm just going to put you up. I left and talked with Jacob and Rachel about like, oh yeah, Marcelo's just making the easy choice. And it was just like this offhand comment. Like, I really didn't think anything of it. But then Marcelo came up to me and was like, hey man, I heard like you were saying I was weak and I was doing the wrong thing. I was like, I literally only talked to two people about that. Who said that to you? And he said, Rachel. And he was like, but you can't tell anyone. And that's where the scene from the trailer comes in, or like, your secret's safe with me.
Oh yeah, let's talk about some of those off-camera moments, because like obviously the viewers get a very limited perspective on what happens. What are some of the perhaps pivotal moments that we didn't get to see that you think really influenced the game?
I think for the most part, everything that you guys saw was what influenced the game, like heavily. I don't think there was that much that happened off camera, because for this season, it was the most filmed, most recorded season that we've had thus far, right? Like they had invested in new cameras, they invested in, everybody had a mic pack, which like in seasons 1, 2, and 3, they did not have those. They just had the like the camera mics. So most everything was recorded. You know, this was just something that was in passing. It didn't even mean to be a conversation. It just happened. And like, as the game went on, there were less people and still the same amount of cameras, still the same amount of camera people. So I think for the most part, really everything that you needed to see was caught on camera.
Was there anything about the house, perhaps including the cameras or not, that was just not what you anticipated or not what you expected?
Oh man, the downtime. The downtime was crazy. I did not expect it to be that much.
Yeah, what did you guys do during the? I always wondered, because it seemed like you would film maybe for like just a couple hours. I'm like, what are they doing the rest of the day?
Not even a couple hours.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I think the longest round in total was Safety and Exile. That round went on for a while because, you know, it was 10 minutes, then 5 minutes, then 10 minutes, and 5 minutes, all the way up until the end. But maybe Killer Detective went on for a little bit. That was like 40 minutes. But, you know, it would be an hour 15 tops of filming. Then like, that was for Safety and Exile, I think. Then, you know, Killer Detective, 40 minutes. And then you would vote, do the elimination ceremony. And then once, you know, if you're not in the battle match, you go back into the house and everybody is sequestered away to like their own spot in the house.
Oh, wow. So you
And
don't eat together, you don't have dinner together. Do you do those things?
No.
Wow.
No. Yeah. So that was the craziest part. Like they used that time to film confessionals, and like you just kind of get to reflect on what happened, what you want to do moving forward. Like I brought a book with me and I got a lot of reading done during that time. Like it really, and they gave you like confessional sheets. Some of them had questions on them. Sometimes I was just like, no, just give me a piece of paper. I'm gonna just jot down some notes. But you know, the confessional, they took a while. Like I was, you know, I wasn't really expecting anything going into it about how they would work, but I was just like, wow, like this is, you know, this is like a lot of time just like to myself. And I think you see that happening when it's like you notice the effects of that when the round begins and everybody just bolts in different directions because you have so much on your mind. You've been thinking about so much. Like from like I'll give you the biggest gap in time between filming and filming was Final 5 battle match to Final 4 roundtable. That was
really?
that was like maybe like 18 hours.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So that took a long time. Like it was Jacob and I battled like Thursday night. Then Friday evening was the Final 4.
Huh.
So so that was like a crazy thing, but it was really cool because like as much as I'm like, oh my God, this is insane. Like I had to do this battle match. I'm like stressed out about going to the Final 4, but I was like, I have an advantage here because I am the only person who knows who the Final 4 is. They don't know I won yet.
Yeah, that's true.
So they can make all the strategies they want to. Nobody's going to be able to make the strategies like I am.
Yeah.
I was like, I know it's Billy, Josh, Natalie, myself. They're thinking it's either me or Jacob. They don't know.
So going into that final, because I remember thinking that, like, you're sitting there, like, smiling, like, waiting for them to, like, you know, open their eyes and see you. You're like, holy crap, I'm here, you know? So what was did you have a strategy? Did you have, like, a game plan in terms of who you wanted to point out? Because we saw Natalie take the lead once you guys all, you know, opened your eyes. Natalie was like, Josh, get Billy out or I'm going to drag you, you know? So, like, if Natalie hadn't said that, you know, did you have an opening threat you were going to open with, or what was your play?
Yeah, I did, and then it just immediately went out the window. Like I gotta give, like, regardless of what happens at the end, I have to give props to Natalie because it takes some gall to be able to be the first one to open your mouth and make a threat like that. Like that's you have to have a lot of confidence in yourself and your ability to like know who the right person to talk to is. And Josh was absolutely the correct person to make that threat to because he just gave Billy safety. He and Billy have been super close this whole game. If one of us is unlikely to like vote for Billy, it's Josh.
Yeah.
So she made the right move in saying that. And then, but what I wanted to say was, hey, Josh, was your strategy by giving Billy safety to take her to Final 2 or to vote her out in 4th place?
Oh, nice.
And if he said it was to take her to Final 2, I turn to Natalie and say, Natalie, if you don't vote for Billy, I'm dragging you. Okay. Because I'm thinking there's no way for me to turn it on Josh.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, well, you know, Billy and I'm thinking like my best case scenario is they both go to a wheel again.
Yeah.
But if Josh says it was to vote Billy out at 4, I say, great, we're good. Like that, like let's vote for Billy. But I wanted to put it on Josh. I wanted it to be like Josh's betrayal of Billy for that to be the vote. I wanted Billy to understand that the only reason she was there was as a pawn for Josh. Because I knew that Billy and Josh were close. He just gave her safety. I knew that Billy wanted to see a woman in the Final 2. So I was like, if she gets voted out, it's going to be between me and Josh. I have to make this seem like the ultimate betrayal on Josh's half.
I think, and that's something we were talking about. I think that could have been a really great play. You know, if Billy would have felt truly betrayed, and I think she did in a sense, but if you saw our recap yesterday, we just talked about how amazingly graceful and just gracious Billy was in that moment, and still recognizing that, I know, Josh, you're trying to cut me, but you really, were loyal to me throughout this game and really helped me. So I understand what you're trying to do. And, and she didn't fully hold it against him. So it would have been interesting to see if maybe, maybe if you had led with that, right? If Natalie hadn't said something, maybe if you had led with that and Josh would have admitted first before Billy had a chance to even speak, maybe that would have changed how she felt about the situation.
Yeah, and that's what I was going for. But, as soon as Natalie says that, I'm like, okay.
Look, Natalie's the GOAT, man. She came in, she busted up your game. That's what she does.
I was like, but then I was like, maybe Billy's gonna drag Natalie now? Because that's what I was thinking. I was like, Billy doesn't take kindly to people strong arming. Like we saw how she didn't, like she and I, like it was a very rivalry earlier on in the game between me and Billy, where Billy was like, I'm gonna play this guy. Like she does not take kindly to these like abrasive, kind of like cocky, strong arm players. And I was like, maybe she's gonna pull Natalie now for like threatening to drag her closest ally. Like if we all vote for her, she's gonna view it as Natalie's fault. And she and Natalie didn't really have that great of a game relationship anyway. So I was kind of just like, all right, like let's see how this plays out. Yeah. It was kind of just the Spencer stay quiet challenge. And then Natalie was like, and then Natalie goes, well, Billy, would you vote for Spencer? And I was like, whoa. Like, let's hold on here. Hold on. You just threatened to vote or to drag Josh if she didn't vote or if he didn't vote for Billy. And now you're turning to Billy and saying, vote for Spencer. I was like, what is happening here? Like, then I was like, all right. Let's pump the brakes here. We're not going to vote for me here. This doesn't make any sense.
That conversation was wild. The amount of movement that occurred in that short amount of time, the tension was absolutely incredible viewing. I can't imagine what it was like to live that. I don't know what that must have felt like.
It was stressful. It was very tense. It was very like, at times I was just kind of like uncomfortable because I was really torn between like everything that Billy was saying. I felt that. Like I felt how much Billy was saying, like how much everything meant to her and how much it would mean to not only her, but to the viewers watching, that that a person of color would make it to the final two in Sequester. And I was like, that is monumental. Like that is a huge thing. And for Billy to do it, somebody who I don't know if you guys know this, but Billy and I played in an all-star Sequester game together.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, we played in 7-17. It was an all-star game. And Billy was the swing vote that saved me in an incredibly hostile, tense round. And that's where that like one-sided, like I like really grasped onto that. I was like, Billy was this like pivotal person for me in this game. I trust her. And so like I had so much respect for Billy already going into the game. And so that's why I was like, oh my, it hurt to like have to like cast my vote for her. But I was like, I applied back for Sequester in like December of 2019. Like I applied before the minis happened. Like I watched 3 episodes of season 3. I was like, I got to apply to this. And I was like, I jumped through hoops. I went through months of like interviews. And I was like, I worked too damn hard to like come here and just fold. And, Natalie took a different path. And, as much as you can say, she kind of dropped the ball in her own game. She did what she felt was right. And I can't hate on that.
Yeah. What is speaking of the kind of personal relationships you had with them before the game and in the game, what has it been like outside of the house, both with the Twitter sphere, the world, and the fans, and also with the other people you were in the house with?
Sorry, when you say the Twitter sphere, like, do you mean us and the Twitter sphere, or like just me and the Twitter sphere?
Your personal interactions with.
Sure. I mean, what a rocky road, right? Like it went from like for episode 1, it was kind of just like, all right, Spencer's here, who cares? But like episode 2, 3, 4, 5, it was like, fuck Spencer, he sucks. Like he's taking out all our favorites. This guy's like, we hate him. It's so boring. And like I get that. Like I get how much like people didn't like. If I was watching a show and there was some guy who I didn't care about on the show and they were just taking out all my favorites, I'd be like, oh my God, this guy sucks. I don't want him on this game. But the part that for me affected me the most was like people dogging on my like social game and my relationships with people when I was like, just like wait, like hold your judgment, wait until date night. Then if you don't like it, you can not like it, but just like pause, pump the brakes a little bit. Like, so the hardest was like biting my tongue and not like telling people like, no, it's actually okay. Like, I know the first half is bad, but like watch the second half, it gets better. So yeah, like after that, like I felt a much more like positive, like loving response. And some people still were not a fan, and that's okay. Like not everybody's gonna like me, and for whatever reason, like one way or another, I'm okay with that. I'm at peace with that. And I'm not gonna be able to please everybody. Interactions with the rest of the castmates. It was an intense game. It was an intense game, and a lot of like pre-game relationships, a lot of pre-existing friendships, and there were some deep cuts. There were some deep cuts that were made, and from everybody. Like I don't think anybody went out of that with like zero hurt feelings at all. And I think like everybody recovers on their own time. So whether it's me, whether it's somebody else, I think like there's still like a little bit of tenderness, but I think at the end of the day, there's a level of respect in general between the castmates. Just maybe not everybody respects everybody, but I think in general, most people are like, as far as the game went, like I understand. On a personal level, some people just don't get along, but yeah, I got nothing but respect for every single one of my 12 castmates.
Nice.
Yeah.
So if you could change one thing about your social game and one thing about your strategic game, what would it be?
So about social game, I would have tried to branch out more at the beginning of the game. I would have tried to, I was like, I came in there and I felt like I was a fan a little bit. Once I saw so many familiar faces, I was like, oh my God, it's Brent. Oh my God, it's Shireen. Oh my God, it's Muno. Oh my God, it's Jacob. Like it's Katie. Like I saw all these people and I was super excited, right? Like I was like, I've seen all these people play the minis. Like I've been watching Brent. I watched Shireen on Survivor. Like this is awesome. And I felt like I stuck to like where I was a little bit more comfortable. And I was like, kind of the fan in me was like, okay, great. Like I know Brent, like let me talk to Brent for a while. Like I feel good with him. Like we've talked like before the game, and not about the game, but like we have a friendship with each other. So I was like, okay, let me talk with Brent. Like let me hang out with a buddy. Same with Katie. And like I felt like I needed to, if I could go back, I would branch out more. I would step a little bit out of my comfort zone. But like I was nervous and excited. And just being able to make a better connection with Rachel, make a better connection with Muna, make a better connection with Jacob, because like we saw it down the road, but initially it wasn't there. So like those are some connections. And even with like Josh, like I felt like if I had taken the Billy approach and not just like written Josh off early, like he and I got along on a social level, but I was kind of just like avoiding him on a game level because I was like, he is the pariah right now. Like I do not want to touch him. He's the guy with the like crazy eyes looking for LOSs, and like so I feel like those are some relationships I wish I had paid a little bit more attention to. Strategically, I would say this could be both strategic and social, but I would say when Muna came back into the game, I've never cringed at myself so hard than the moments approaching the conversation that I had with a group of people where I said, "Let's vote Brendan." And that
was pretty awesome, by the way. That was awesome to watch. I was like, Brendan's right there.
Yeah. So to defend myself a little bit, because I've gotten some heat for that moment. I did not call Brendan into that room. I called the other two groups into that room to say like, hey, let's vote for Brendan Brendan Marcello. And like Brendan followed as he should have, but I didn't want him to be there. And then, I'm making this pitch to everybody saying why it doesn't make sense to vote for me. You're giving Luna the ammunition. I felt my pitch went really well. And then Josh goes, well, then who do we vote for? And I was like, well, I can't just back out now. I can't make this pitch and not like follow through to the end of it. Yeah. And like, it's really on me because I knew that once the round started, Muna saying to everybody, like, and she has the most influence out of anybody. She has the most social capital out of anybody in that house. She's saying, I want Brent and Spencer to go in. So the onus is already on me to get the vote off of me and Brent.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I gotta do something. And in my mind, I was like, well, you know what? Balls to the wall. Brendan, you're the pair here. Like, you don't have Marcelo here to back you up. If everybody else says okay with it, sure, let's do it. Brendan and Marcelo. And I was as soon as the words left my mouth and people just were like, we're gonna go elsewhere. I was like, man, that was not the move. But I felt like I felt very like backed into a corner in that moment. But I was like, I gotta do something. Like it's a 99% chance that Brent and I are going in anyway. So maybe this is the 1% chance.
And I feel like that's part of the game that as a fan it's really impossible to fully appreciate. The amount of pressure you're under, the small amount of time you have to formulate and execute and pivot your plans. I talk a lot of trash about some of the players, but like it's all in good fun. But yeah, I know that being in the house, it's a whole different thing.
Right. Yeah. And the other thing about that round was it's for the first time in Sequester history, there's no drag. There's no drag into a battle match. So if they're trying to get out somebody who they don't want to face in a battle match, this is the perfect opportunity to do that. So not only does Muna, who has safety in a vote, not want me and Brent in the game, but none of them have to worry about getting pulled into a battle match against somebody who's just won 2 back-to-back. So it was like, as soon as the round started, Brent and I knew we were dead men walking, but like we just tried everything that possibly could, and it just made it worse.
Yeah. Let's let's hop to the Twitter questions because we got a lot for you.
Yeah,
I want to make sure we get through them. Kim left like 3 just by herself.
Yeah.
Let's start.
Yeah, we have to answer those first. I mean, we got to answer the questions from a past Sequester winner, so we'll definitely get to those.
All right, let's do those first. So Kim wanted to know, how long did you have for wardrobe change and to come up with your opening and closing statements? She said they had about 45 minutes in season 2.
I would say it's about the same. I would say like 45 minutes. I didn't have a clock in my room. I didn't have a clock in my room. I didn't have a watch. I didn't have my phone. So like time was really just an abstract concept to me. I was like, time exists only when somebody knocks on my door to tell me like, hey, you're going down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What was more difficult for you, actually playing Sequester or waiting for the episodes to air when you know what's coming up?
Oh my gosh, playing Sequester. That was like, it was so challenging. It was so challenging. Like, not like, you watch these minis, you watch past seasons, and you know, like, okay, these are some of the twists. These are some of the best, like, optimal strategies to take when you're doing it. But when you're actually in the game, you're like, my mind went blank at times. And you could see that happening where I was like, oh, yeah, like, maybe this is the best thing to do. It was not the best thing to do a lot of the time. but it really, like, throws you for a loop. Like, you think you have a lot of time, and you really just don't. You really don't have a lot of time. And, the hardest thing about waiting for the episodes to air was from the point of the cast reveal to the first episode. Because when the cast is revealed and the first episode hasn't come out yet, people are clamoring with questions. But once the first episode comes out, it's just you can like deflect the conversation onto the past episode. You can like, people are like, oh my gosh, what happens next? I was like, well, when you saw this happen, like, what do you think happens, like, because of this? So that I found that to be pretty easy. Like, I kept everybody in my life spoiler free. Didn't tell one person anything that happened because I was like, yeah,
that's impressive.
Yeah. Yep. Family, friends, nobody got anything out of me. Damn. And because I was like, Audrey made a really good point, and I probably wasn't going to tell anybody anyway, but Audrey made a fantastic point of like, you guys just spent so much time and energy, like, making this season what it is and making the season so good. Don't ruin that experience for anybody. like give everybody in your life the authentic experience of watching it from start to finish, just like you played it.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, you're right. Like if there was ever any chance that like notion killed it, I was like, maybe there are people who are watching it just for like watching this show just for me. And like, I don't want them to not be as excited because they know what's going to happen going down the road. So, it was funny, talking to some people, and they're like, they hadn't watched Sequester before in the past. And they would say to me, yeah, I'm probably not going to watch like once you go out. And I was like, sure. I give you permission. You don't have to watch when I go out. That's fine. Yeah. I'm like, I got you. You're watching the whole season. Yeah.
That's a good one.
That's good.
All right, another question we got. We kind of talked about this a little bit. We saw you undergo a massive transformation throughout the season, from going to one of the most arrogant people in the house to one of the most humble. So with that being said, would you consider yourself a hero or a villain, and why?
I would consider myself I'm like a hero with a dark side.
Right? Like Batman, right?
Anti-hero.
Yeah, I'm like an anti-hero,
Walter White,
right? Like I'm a hero. I mean well.
Walter White is not a hero. Sorry, Walter White was not a hero. That man was a drug kingpin.
Let's not compare me to a meth kingpin, right?
Yeah.
No, I went in with really good intentions, and I got a lot of I got beaten down. I got some dirt kicked in my face, and I came back with a vengeance. But then once my wrath had calmed down a little bit, like you saw that, like it went back to being the real me. Like it went back to being the person who's like when you saw me like jumping for joy at like being in a Final Four with like Billy, Muna, and Josh, that was a real emotion. Not because I was so excited to be in a Final Four with two people who beat me and one person who maybe it's close with, but it was real emotion of like, people want to play this game with me now. Like, oh my God, this is amazing. I've done it. I've come around. Like, people are willing to actually work with me in this game. Like, that was where this excitement like just jumped out of me. And at that point, like, I don't think I really did anything too villainous. Everything I felt like in my from the show's perspective, it's very easy to paint me as a villain for the first 5 rounds, because you have these like people who are so adored and so beloved in the community, and in the show they have these great stories, and then you have me who's taking them out, and I'm knocking them out of the game. But like I didn't feel like I was doing anything out of anything with malintent. I felt like I was doing the things that I needed to do to get myself further in the game, and increase, like everything was done with the goal in mind of like, how can I get farther and how can I win? And
I think you're I think you're a humble guy. So I'm going to speak up a little bit on your behalf. You're not a villain. Like really, you were eliminating people's favorites because they were dragging you into the match. Like they were kicking you out. Like what else are you supposed to do? And I really think, I don't know, even the things you said, it was clear to me from the beginning that you never meant harm. And we've watched, I think we're all here, we're all fans of these types of shows. We've seen people be very harmful to each other deliberately. Yeah. And, I don't think you deserve that villain moniker at all. Regardless, I know you can't, talk yourself up in a certain way. You're a humble guy, but I wanted to say that on your behalf.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And, and I also want to, kind of in that same note, I really want to comment on Muna, because I think, I think there really should be a lot of recognition as to how Muna acted, and I think I would say in a way spearheaded the reconciliation, because I think you certainly extended that olive branch, but I think she really embraced it. And I think part of it too is also recognizing somebody's heart, right? Recognizing when somebody just puts their foot in their mouth, or gets caught up in the heat of the moment, gets caught up in the competition, gets caught up in the desperation of, holy crap, I don't want to get dragged in, I don't want to get eliminated out, so like I'm going to say something, versus somebody who is purposely trying to tear you down or make you feel bad, or whatever. And I think Muna came to the realization of like, I don't think you're trying to be a bad guy. You're not trying to be a bad guy to me. We had some missteps, we had some misunderstandings, and I thought it was so amazing to see that, because in a lot of these reality shows, we don't really see a full reconciliation when we see two people going head to head, you know, and you and Muna really went head to head, and you were able to sit down, date night, and, you know, kind of start kind of, you know, extending that olive branch to each other. And by the end of the season, to see her, you know, singing your praises at the end, like it was
good.
super touching.
Yeah,
it
how
was
did that
really
feel?
touching.
It felt really good. You know, it felt like no matter what happened going forward, at least like there was some redemption for me. You know, whether I get battled out at the final 5 or I get dragged at number 3, I was like, there's some kind of redemption here, because, you know, if I went out being the bad guy, I would have hated it. You know, I would have been like, damn, you know, that's not really a true representation of my character, but like, I guess that's a story. They can make a good story out of it, but it wouldn't have sat right with me. But you know, there, like, I just want to take a second to like touch on the relationship that Moon and I had in the game, because, you know, it was like, talk about a swing, right? Like it went from like unable to communicate with each other to like we're giving each other a hug at the final 6 or at the final 7, right? Like it was like it went full circle, and or full 180, not full circle. We didn't come right back to the beginning.
Now we hate each other again.
Yeah, now we hate. Yeah, no, it went to it was a full 180, right? And like the part of the reason why I felt so scorned by Muna at the beginning was because I wanted so desperately to work with Muna. And I was like, I've seen her in the minis. I've seen how she does. I've seen how her allies do in these games. I want her in my corner. And I was like, I don't feel like she really wants me in her corner. And, you know, during these interactions that we have, I'm not understanding the like levels of complexity that have already happened before I'm having this conversation with her, right? Like, I don't realize that she's putting me in exile, not because she wants me in exile necessarily, but because she knows that Jacob is going to get safety, and because Brent told her that she would get safety if she put me in exile. So I'm looking at that as like, okay, so Muna's not trying to work with me. Like she's okay with putting me in exile. But in reality, it's not necessarily something against me. It's something that she's doing to like boost herself up. Then in the next round, I asked her to vote for Jacob, and I didn't know the extent of how close she and Jacob were. So I didn't realize how big of an ask that was for me to like ask her to vote for Jacob. Like, I didn't realize I'd be like, hey, Joy, vote out Moses. Like, I didn't realize that was going to be like that like huge monumental thing. I was just like, okay, like I know they played Winners at War together, but like I don't know how close they are right now. So that was like a misstep on my part. And then this Minnesota connection, you know, apparently those Midwesterners, they are tight. They are tight. They do not play games, and you know, that was another misstep. And then at that point, I was like, I feel like this is personal, but it's not personal at all. But I can only see what's right in front of me, and what's right in front of me feels personal. And, you know, that was just that was a very like emotional reaction for me, because I'm like, I want to play this game. You know, I worked super hard, and right now I'm getting kicked to the curb because the most powerful player in the game doesn't want to work with me. But it was like, it's not that she doesn't want to work with me, it's that she has so many other things going on right now that she's not looking at me as a priority. Yeah. But then when she came back into the game, I guess whether it was just a matter of time or something that I said, but her opinion, like the mentality changed. And I think it was the time that we got to talk to each other on date night, where we both got to look each other in the eyes and realize, like, we're not bad people. Like, we don't hate each other here. This was a game thing. Like, let's be like, we need to work with each other in this game. You're Muna, you won the battle match. You won the battle match back. People like you. You've won 3 battle matches in a row. Like, we need to keep each other in this game. And it was just a level of mutual respect to the game that then blossomed into a respect for each other as people. And that was something that, you know, I was really satisfied with that. I was really satisfied with that. And I was very happy to be able to reconcile that relationship during the game.
As a viewer, it was absolutely lovely to watch. But we do have a few more Twitter questions to get
Let's
through.
go. Let's bring
it. A
a
little bit rapid fire. What is your favorite competition?
Oh my gosh, the battle match that beat Brenton.
So
because you beat Brent, or because the competition?
No. It's because of the competition. I love that stuff. I love that stuff. I'm like such a when I was a little kid, I grew up watching Survivor. That was my show. Like I would watch that with my parents every night. That was the one night a week when I was like 4 years old that they would let me stay up past my bedtime and watch Survivor. And I would watch these, and literally what we would do, we would fast forward until there's a challenge, and then we would go to the next challenge. And like that's what I loved. I loved it so much. Wow. And so my favorite, contestants for Survivor growing up were these like were the people who were good at challenges. And so I always kind of identified with these people who are making immunity runs, like Kim Spradlin, with Ozzy, with like Terry Dietz. I'm just like, oh, this is so cool. And getting to actually go out there and do a Survivor-like challenge where you're throwing the rope and you're twisting it around to get there and then pulling the boards there, you're balancing, you're having to run back across the boards. I was like, this is like what Rod Mariano did in All Stars, like on the balance beam, and like, I'm throwing the hooks like, oh God, like Ozzy in Exile or in South Pacific. I was like, it like brought the super fan of these shows out in me, and it was awesome to do.
That's really cool.
That is awesome.
We had one question that said, do you think there's anyone who would have voted for you or would have voted for Billy, regardless of what you did in the game? And I guess I'll actually flip that. Do you feel like who were the people whose votes were up for grabs going to that final vote?
I felt like all but 4 votes were up for grabs. I felt like Josh, Shireen, Rachel, and Muna's votes were locked in for Billy. So I felt like there were 7 votes that I was fighting for. I was like, I need 6 of those 7 votes. These are not good odds for me. But I felt like Brent and Katie were leaning towards me, Jay West leaning towards me a little bit. Like he and I were roommates on night 1. Like we when we walked in the house, he was like, you remind me of Dustin from season 3. He and I were boys. Like you remind me of him. And so we had a really good connection. But I was like, I've been out of the game for so long, and he's been in the jury with these people who don't really like me that much. So what's he hearing from them? And so I knew that it was going to be an uphill battle for me. But the votes that surprised me the most were Jacob and Marcelo. That surprised me. Like Marcelo, I didn't really get to see a lot of his game. I think he did play a good game up until, a certain point where he kind of like let the game exhaustion is a real thing, and that kind of like hit Marcelo very quickly in that last round. But I didn't really get to see that much of it, and so for him to say what he said about me, it really like it put a big smile on my face. Like I was really happy to hear what he had to say about me. And Jacob and I had a close game relationship, but I didn't really think that he was going to I didn't know if he was going to respect the game I played, even though our games are very similar, because while we both went to like 4 battle matches, I went because I was bad socially. He went because he got the tables turned on him. Yeah. And I didn't think he was going to vote for me because I was like, oh, well, he's going to respect Billy's game more. And so for him to do that, I was like, okay, so, Jacob's a great player. He was the first ever 2-time Sequester mini winner. I was like, to have him vote for me, like that really meant something. All 4 of those votes meant something, but Jacob and I had 0 pregame connection with each other. And for him to like vote for me after like having such an up and down relationship at the beginning of the game, like especially watching it back, because I really didn't know how against me he was in the game. Yeah. So to have him vote for me after all of that really like meant something to me.
Nice.
That's pretty awesome. Mm-hmm. And we have another Twitter question. I think this might be our last one.
All right.
Do you think you would have beaten Josh from Natalie in the end? Like, so let's take Billy out of the equation. Actually, mm-hmm. Let's take her out of the equation. What do you think your chances would have been against either Josh or Natalie?
I think it's close. I would like to give myself the advantage against Josh and Natalie at the end. I think that they were both playing really good games throughout the entire season. I think like they were both making moves. They were both doing things that needed to be done to get themselves further in the game. And I think like having the opportunity to explain that would have meant something and would have got them votes. But I think from what the jury sees, they can see what I'm doing. They can see me like they can see Muna making amends with me publicly. They can see me winning 4 battle matches. Like they can see all of these things that they're not seeing for Josh. They're not seeing for Natalie. They don't know that Josh has this LOS. They don't know already that he was planning on playing it on Natalie. They don't know that Natalie is the like true orchestrator for the original Muna vote. They don't know that, all these things that all these like, stealth moves that Natalie's made. And so I felt like if I was going up against one of the two of them, it would have been a different position where they were having to fight for votes instead of me. And if they could get everything out there and they could articulate it in the best way that they possibly could, it would have been really close.
I like that. That's a good analysis.
Yeah.
We have 2 more quick rapid fire questions from Queen Kim.
Let's go.
These are the most important questions. And you get
Cannot
one word
Two
answer.
seconds to answer.
Okay. Let's go.
Pineapple on pizza or no?
No.
Oh, well, sorry. Looks like our time is up. Thanks, Spencer, for coming.
What is wrong with you?
I respect the people who do it. No. Here's the thing. If you put pineapple on your pizza, cool. I got nothing against it. I'm not one of those people who's like, ugh, if you put pineapple on your pizza, like I've had it, it's fine. I just prefer my pizza without pineapple. I don't like fruit on pizza. Yeah.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. Lastly,
not tropical pizza.
Is a hot dog a sandwich or not?
It is a taco.
Okay.
That's
out of left field with the answer.
It's a taco. It's 3-sided. It's got bottom and side. A sandwich is 2-sided.
That's a very.
I have a feeling Kim's gonna have an issue with that, but we'll stay on Twitter and see what she says about it.
Burger's a sandwich. A hot dog is a taco.
I mean, I always put like shredded cheese and lettuce and other things on my hot dogs.
I mean, I didn't realize taco was like a generic. I know sandwich obviously is like a generic construction, but is taco the generic version of what that is?
It is now.
I'm going to put you on something. There's a food.
Put me on some game, Spencer.
There's a food theory of what classifies different types of foods, and it's about where the bread or where the outside is, and everything is either like it's like a salad has 0 carbs. It's got 0 walls to it, so it's a salad. Like a steak is apparently considered a salad, right? So and then you've got like if something's got 6 sides to it, it's completely surrounded in the bread, it's a calzone.
Okay. All right.
Right? Like if it's got 2 sides, it's a sandwich. If it's got 3 sides, it's a taco. If it's got 4 sides, it's like a burrito or something like that.
So if it doesn't have any sides, it's a salad.
I like
correct. Mashed
potatoes.
So
I can have ice cream for dinner, which was my plan anyway, and I can just call it a salad.
Yeah,
it's a salad. Yeah,
stay healthy.
I'll take that.
Healthy. Yeah.
And on that note,
this has been real talk.
That was real talk. You skip all the way to the end and then you get to the real talk. Yeah.
Look, I do have maybe it's a final question for you. I do have a question for you. So what's next? Like, what are you pursuing next? You had I would say a very successful run on this. You talked about how much you're a Survivor super fan. Like, what are you applying to next? Where could we see you again, maybe?
I will be applying to anything I can get my hands on right now. I've got the taste for blood and I want more. No, but in all sincerity, kind of just I've undergone a pretty significant life change. After Sequester, I moved states. I realized that I was not really happy with my job situation, my living situation, and Sequester, changed that for me. It was like, hey, look, I can do anything. I won 4 battle matches. I fought my way back from the absolute bottom of the barrel to coming within 2 votes of winning the season against Billy. Like, it still shocks me to this day, like how close I was. I'm seeing stuff online, like if Spencer gets to the finals against Billy, it's going to be 11-0. 2 votes from winning. And that inspired me to say, like, I'm not going to be I need to do everything that I can to make myself happy right now. And then that was that. And so in this big life change, I'm kind of like getting settled, finding my spot in the world. And unfortunately, it's happening during a freaking global pandemic. What a time. So all these shows, like, I would love to be on Survivor. I'd love to be on Amazing Race. I think, it would be 4 battle match wins. Maybe that could get me on the challenge. Who knows? But like Big Brother, like I think it would be an honor, it would be a privilege to be on any single one of those shows. But I think we're just gonna have to give it a little bit of time to see what really happens, let the world settle down a little bit, and then I'll really, take a shot at it.
Damn, that is the best and most real kind of talk to end on. I feel like that was
Yeah.
that was a good message. I'm really
Yeah.
happy to see whether we see you in any public sphere left or not. Like I think everyone is attached to the growth you made this season, and it resonated, and we're all just happy to see you in a good place and happy to see where you go from
Mhm. Yeah, thank you. And I just want to say to both of you, thank you so much for the coverage that you two did on this season. Like this was if I couldn't watch any podcasts for a couple days, right? Like I'm unable to watch any of the recaps, unable to listen to anything until like Thursday. The first one I'm clicking on is always Real Talk with Real Siblings. Every
That is
single
awesome.
week.
We've loved having you. And yeah, if you love this video, if you loved hearing from Spencer Brief himself, second place finisher of season 4, drop a like, drop a comment, hit that subscribe button, and we will see you next time.
We'll let
It's been a real talk. Wait,
go ahead, Spencer. You take it. You take it.
Oh, Spencer, you take it.
All right. Nobody does real talk like these real siblings. Subscribe, ring that bell, like, comment. Let's go. Bring it. Bring the house for these people.
Yes, that's
That
real.
that's the hype I'm looking
Spencer.
for.
Thank you. All right.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.